Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Yukon Planning Commission for this month. It's 7 o'clock, time to begin our meeting. First thing will be the invocation given by Commissioner Baker, followed by the flag salute led by Commissioner Davis. Would all stand, please?
Lord, thank you for the right to assemble tonight, this commission. Please place thy guiding hand upon the members as we go about our deliberations. Protect our troops in the field and the people of Yukon, Oklahoma. In thy name we pray. Amen.
Address the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Chairman Taylor,
Here.
Commissioner Davis,
Here.
Commissioner Hatley,
Here.
Commissioner Smystrala,
Here.
Commissioner Baker.
Here.
At this time, the Planning Commission will conduct a public hearing to receive comments from the public relating to a recommendation to the City Council regarding the adoption of the Urban Gateway Smart Code Ordinance, a form-based zoning code which will significantly depart from Yukon's current zoning scheme. Is there anyone here that would have any questions or would like to address the Planning Commission? We also have several members of the Economic Development Team and staff here to answer any questions that you all might have. Anything else? Sir?
Mr. Chairman, Larry Mitchell, I'm here representing the Economic Development Authority. I have 3 members, I think, 3 members of the authority here tonight, willing to answer any questions you might have, along with our consultants that helped us draft the Smart Code Ordinance. You know, we've been working on this for about 6 months, and we've met with the Planning Commission a couple times in study session. And we're proposing tonight 2 ordinances. One ordinance would you would adopt the Smart Code Ordinance. That would be a change to the current zoning ordinance that the city has. The second would be forming an overlay district, which we would use to overlay our Frisco Road TIF district, and we're calling that overlay the Urban Gateway Smart Code Overlay. So with that, we also have a presentation. If you'd like to see about a 20-slide presentation, we've put
Sure.
together another
Maybe the public
overview.
at home might like to see it, so
Great.
certainly.
Very good. Sam?
Pull that up. Turn my safety off. All right, this is just kind of a quick overview of why we chose to go.
Would you say who you are?
Oh yeah, I'm Sam Day. I'm with Bootser Gardner Architects, the consultant for the Economic Development Authority. So this is just a quick presentation that's going to go over the route we took to get to the Smart Code, why we chose the Smart Code, and how the Smart Code varies from conventional zoning. So we decided to go, we did the community survey back in August, and based on those results, we had some questions in particular that made us go down this Smart Code route. One that was really surprising to us was that the community said, 80% of them said that they wanted to see a mix of office, retail, and residential in this development. And I think it was 72% of them said that they thought people would like to live above the shops. So we went through Yukon's current zoning ordinances and saw that there weren't any zones that allowed that mix of uses to happen. So we drafted the Urban Gateway Smart Code that basically flipped the way that conventional zoning did it. Instead of regulating the uses that people would have in their buildings, we decided it regulates the outside. That is how big the building is, whether they have sidewalks, trees, kind of the public face of the building rather than the private face. conventional zoning we're all familiar with is broken up by use and intensity, right? So you have R, C, and I, which is your different uses, and then the numbers correspond to the intensity that you can develop in those zones. Smart code, on the other hand, is just broken out by intensity. So it's flexible in terms of use, but it has regulations on how intense, how big of building, how many occupants can be in it on a track. So these are kind of the three goals we broke smart code into. It was ensuring that we use land efficiently, improving the quality of the public realm, and to create complete neighborhoods. So we want to ensure an efficient land use by regulating block size, street size, and setbacks. So you can kind of see, you know, the traditional kind of shopping mall scenario where you have an enormous block size, enormous parking lots, and the building is set back hundreds and hundreds of feet from the road, which is allowed under conventional zoning. Under the smart code, we're going to force buildings to be built towards the street, tighten up the street width, and tighten up the allowances for surface parking. You can see, again, to improve the quality of the public realm, this is Garth Brooks Boulevard, of course. Smart code is going to require street trees, sidewalks, and for ground floor retail to be built with windows so people can interact and look in and have some interest with their walk. Something that's going to look more like this. This is in the Woodlands and Houston. And then the third goal of the smart code is to create complete neighborhoods. Neighborhoods where people can live, shop, and work within a walking radius. So this is Birksdale Village, and I believe it's in Massachusetts. And you can see here we have, you know, it's 3-4 story development where people live above, but they can walk down to stores or go play in the park or walk over to their office and without ever having to get in their car. And this we go kind of more to the technical elements that you guys might not want to see tonight of how smart code is broken down. But that's pretty much the summary.
Okay.
Do you have any questions about the more technical aspects?
Any of the commissioners like to go over any of this again? It's pretty exciting.
Absolutely.
Is there any place in Oklahoma like that? I believe you told us there's not anything like this in Oklahoma right now.
Tulsa has a small area that they've started a form-based code, and they just have a few little apartments that have started developing there. But this would be the first significant use of form-based code.
Is this anything like Bricktown or?
It may end up looking something like Bricktown, and it's similar to some of the codes, the zoning codes we have downtown that are really lax on use, but more strict on, you know, what does the building look like. So it's similar to those kind of zoning codes we have in downtown currently, downtown Oklahoma City.
Yeah, but instead of adapting it, we're getting to start from the ground.
Exactly, right.
Good deal.
So a lot of what we're trying to do here is create a zoning code that will spur development that imitates kind of how things were developed in the past before the automobile took over, kind of how Main Street Yukon looks now. That's the kind of development we're looking for with this code.
And this will be over the entire 178 acres, Larry, Mr. Mitchell? Is that?
Over the entire district, but there are exemptions for the smaller tracts of property.
Okay.
For the smaller tracts of property, the developer or the owner would have the option of either using the smart code or going to a PUD or some other form of development.
Furthermore, it would be available to any developer in Yukon to adapt if they wanted to.
But this code that we're possibly passing tonight would only apply to this TIFed area right now, correct?
Right. The overlay would mandate this code or a PUD that follows the spirit of this code. However, it also puts into place the smart code as a floating code that anyone in the future could come and get rezoned to
Really?
the smart code.
So, but the first ordinance is on all areas, is that correct? To apply the smart code, period, and then the second ordinance is to apply it to the 178 acres? Is that correct?
I don't remember which one's 1 and 2.
I'm Jeff Saban with the Center for Economic Development Law. I'm another one of the consultants for EDA. Basically, the first ordinance only adopts the smart code regulations themselves. And the second ordinance imposes those regulations on the Frisco Road TIF area. What Sam is trying to say is that the ordinance adopting the smart code itself and the language of the smart code allows those regulations to be adopted by right by developers, but they would have to come back before you guys and submit a plan and get rezoned. That would be pretty much on the developer.
So it would have to be rezoned from what we call R2
Right.
to something that deals with the smart code if they wanted to do that type of development.
Correct.
And it would have to be on a parcel of land big enough to fit one of the community unit types.
So there's regulations built into the code for that?
Mhm.
Okay. Well, I know the Economic Development Authority's been working hard on developing this. Mr. Wright's back here, and he's our chairman of that commission. And this is exciting times coming up for Yukon, I think. Anybody else have further questions? Anyone in the audience have questions for these gentlemen or lady that's here tonight? Please step forward and announce yourself and where you live, and we'll be glad to try to answer it.
My name is Michelle Salerno, live on Northwest 10th Street. Had a question on
She needs to provide her full address for us, please.
13200 Northwest 10th Street, Yukon. Had a question about signage regulations that are going to be in the developments. Is there going to be regulations as to sizes of signs, how high they can be? Because that would affect the overall effect also.
Yeah, there are.
Step to the microphone where the people can home hear you.
Yes, there are regulations on signage, and those vary depending on which district you're in, right? So in the more suburban districts, the regulations on signage are more strict. So you can't have a really large billboard sign. And then we have a table right here that shows what kinds of signs are permitted in which zones and the maximum sizes of those signs.
Okay, and a second question, with all this new development, is there going to be further infrastructure with the water system?
I think I'm going to have to defer on that to someone else.
Yeah.
That might be.
Obviously, with all that development, obviously it'll have to be water and sewer and utility development, police and fire protection, all of that will come in with this.
And third and final question, as the overlay that I've seen with the map that I
Mhm.
received, is it going to encroach any more onto the 10th Street side where I live?
Do you actually live in Yukon, or do you live in Oklahoma City side?
No, it's the Mustang side of 10th Street, so not the Target side, we're right across from that.
So you're on the south side of 10th
Yeah,
Street?
it was the Bloodworth property, which is now Aldi's, and then the Newmans live next door, and then it's my property.
Okay. Well, at some point in the future, Mr. Wright, am I right to think that whole piece of ground's going to be developed out there pretty much?
Are you speaking of the 160 acres where the target development is now?
No, we're right across from that.
Okay. What they're doing tonight only applies to Yukon and won't.
What
Off
I'm
the road.
asking is because when it went to 4-lane there, of course, we lost about 50 foot of
Yes.
property. Is it going to encroach any more?
No. The lots that are abutting you on the north side of the road, those are the ones that have the exemption to choose, since they're already developed lots, we have an exemption to either go with the traditional zoning, C5, I believe is what it's zoned now, or do the smart code, but it won't affect
The other side.
the other side at all. And it's either gonna stay the existing zoning, or if anything, if we go to, if whoever buys those lots, there's, I think Cooper owns one right behind Cooper's, I own two, and then, Darren owns one, and then I own the other one. And those will either be much less,
Those will still be under this. If they're under 5 acres, it'll be through a PUD process. If they're over it.
they'll be less intense if we
Okay.
go to this, because instead of having a store and a massive parking lot, if we decide to go to the smart code part, it will be less intense, and it won't be that big concrete right out in front of you.
Okay.
And any of that will still come back before the planning commission, I believe, and you would have a chance to
Yeah,
visit about it then.
all that would still, even the existing lots, go back through staff, back through planning commission and council, just like it would now. We don't get to hopscotch and bypass anything. Everything is still, has to go through everybody. There's just different rules that we would have to abide by if we chose to go to that,
Okay.
for the existing lots.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you for your
Thank you.
question, man. Anyone else have something they'd like to ask while we have the people here that can answer the questions?
Mr. Chair, I have one more question.
Yes.
Just make sure we didn't lose anything in the different drafts of this.
Yep.
The most asked for thing by those under 30 was the mixed use within a building, the
Right.
bottom floor with residential above. Did we keep that in the final draft?
Yeah, that is absolutely allowed and encouraged in the smart code.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, I will close the public hearing and proceed with our meeting. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all.
Item 1 is the approval of the minutes of the February 9th meeting.
I move to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the February 9th meeting. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baker,
Aye.
Commissioner Smystrala,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatley,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yay.
Chairman Taylor.
Yes. Item 2 is the visitors section. If someone's here to address the planning commission about a non-agended item, now would be the time to step forward and visit about it. Seeing none, we will proceed. Item 3, to hear a request from Grove Associates on behalf of ERS Telecom Properties for a conditional use permit for a wireless telecommunication monopole tower to be located west of West Calais Avenue and north of 11th Street, Yukon, Oklahoma. And then it gives the legal description of that. So anybody have any questions on what I've just read? This item has been requested by the applicant to be indefinitely postponed by this committee. So, Mr. Attorney, do we need, since they've put a letter in, do we have to vote on that?
They've withdrawn their application, so there's
So this is,
no item to take any action on.
okay, so that item is out of here. So item 4, to hear a request from establishing the Smart Code District regulations for land use, Smart Code regulation to be mandatory within the Urban Gateway Overlay Supplemental District unless specifically exempted or unless continuous development land area by ownership does not meet with the minimum size requirements for a community scale plans, Smart Code regulations to be optional for all remaining development areas within the city of Yukon. Now, we've just had people stand up and talk about this. Does the commission have any questions of anyone on what I've just read and what they're asking for tonight? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we've made a motion to approve this. We've had a public hearing. We've had planning meetings. Is there a second on this?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to approve item 4, as I have read it. Any further discussion or questions? Call the roll, please.
Chairman Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yay.
Commissioner Smystrala,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatley,
Yes.
Commissioner Baker.
Yes.
And the associate request here on item 5, to hear a request to amend Appendix A, zoning ordinance, sections 201.1, 401.3, 404.1, and 406.1, to provide for consistency with the City of Yukon Smart Code and enacting a new section 607 and a new section 608, providing for the creation of a new urban gateway overlay supplemental district and providing for new zoning designation corresponding with the City of Yukon Smart Code Trans-X, establishing boundaries for the urban gateway overlay supplemental district. Does anybody have any questions, or can we get a motion on that?
I did have one question on that. So this is the section then that allows us to be able to rezone a current spot in Yukon already that's at least meets the minimum requirements of one of the smart code implements.
Well, according to this, we're changing some sections in the code to be consistent, and by adding 2 new sections of the code for the purpose of using that.
If I may answer the commissioner's question.
Yes.
The sections listed at the beginning, sections 201.1, 401.3, 404.1, 406.1, are things that the city would probably want to remain. So the language of the smart code currently has a smart code supersede any existing city codes where there's a conflict, but for areas where there's not a conflict, the existing city codes will still remain in place. And those are some specific areas in the land use regulations that would probably be helpful to remain just for consistency's sake throughout the city. And then the new sections 607 and 608 are what create the urban gateway supplemental district overlay that actually is what mandates the smart code regulations or a planned unit development process. So yes, this is creating the overlay district over the existing area.
I'm sorry, I didn't get anyone to make a motion yet, correct?
That's correct.
Does anybody?
Not yet.
I'll make a motion
To approve?
to approve.
All right, I'll second that.
Okay. So a motion and a second to approve item 5, the overlay of the smart code. Call the roll, please.
Chairman Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yay.
Commissioner Hatley,
Yes.
Commissioner Smystrala,
Yes.
Commissioner Baker.
Yes.
Item 6 is open discussion. Does anybody have anything? I'd like to say congratulations to our colleague, Ms. Smystrala, for winning the city council seat. And we'll be sorry to see her leave this commission, but she'll be going up to oversee what we do. She'll be a city council member. And so thank you for your work on this committee, and we look forward to you being on the city council.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else have anything? Our next meeting is Friday, no, April. April the 13th? Is that a,
Is that a Friday?
is that a Friday? All right, I'm sorry, it's a Monday. All right, just checking you. Our next sorry, does staff have anything? Do you have anything, Cindy or Mr. Attorney?
No, sir.
All right, the next meeting will be in April the 13th. This meeting's adjourned.